Kris, I'm so happy to have you on this show. I think you were on this show once before with Peerless Kickstarter, but we've got another Kickstarter to do. So I should say, hey, today I've got Kris Morron with me today. Did I say your name right?
It's Morron.
Morron.
Yeah, it's all good. It's all good.
Okay, well, I could have said it, moron, and that would have been offensive.
Story of my life.
I'm sure your students said it a few times to you, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So Kris Morron with me, and he's got a Kickstarter. This is another comic book Kickstarter, which is super exciting. I want to hear about it. It's called Shady Lane Blues. Mm-hmm. It's a blues-inspired comic book, and you did this with Jake Kelly.
Yeah.
So, Kris, let's start out before we jump into that, because I'm sure people are like, wait, what is a blues comic? Is this our crumb? I want to hear about you. Can you give us a little background about you?
Yeah, so starting at the age of 10, I started playing the trombone, although I was always interested in music. My parents had music on a lot when I was a kid. And I found that trombone was something I excelled at. So throughout my schooling, I got better and better and started playing jazz. I went to college to study jazz and then also did some music education. After I graduated, I started joining bands around the Cleveland area, and some of them did very well. And then I started teaching as well, and I spent the last 17 years as a teacher and in performing. I've been in bands the whole time I've been an educator. And then just a month ago, I decided to go all in on the music making and comic book making. So I left my teaching job, and now I'm here fulfilling my dream of being a creator telling compelling stories.
You know what? Good choice, because I love your stuff.
Well, thanks.
I think you got a lot of cool stuff going on here. So first of all, let me just lay this right out on Front Street. Support this Kickstarter because we want to keep Kris out of work. I don't know how we want to say that. But yeah, we definitely want to support this. This is such a cool project. And I commend you. Taking a leap like that is not easy. I've done the same thing. I mean, at least comics, there's a chance. Podcasting, good luck. So Kris, there's my advice. Don't
Okay,
don't give up the new day job for podcasting. So tell me about this project. I want to hear all about it. It is Shady Lane Blues. What is it?
After finishing writing Peerless, which was an 8-issue series, and it was very involved. It took 3 years to write that book. I started thinking about, well, what's going to come next? And so I had a notebook full of story ideas, and I wanted to do something short. I wanted to do a one-shot comic that tells a very concise story that is emotional, but also stylistic. I wanted to provide something that readers would look at and say, this is a gorgeous book, but the moral of the story is also something that resonates with various artists or audiences, I'm sorry. So Shady Lane Blues is the story of Screamin' Washington Monroe, who was he's fictional, but in the story, he's a famous blues musician in the 1930s, and the beginning of our story moves into the 1960s, and he's fallen on hard times. He's no longer the famous blues musician he once was. He's fallen into obscurity. He's looking a little rough. He's a bit of an alcoholic, and his life's a mess. But
yeah, it came with the territory,
that's
right?
Right. So as we get into the story, he meets Steele Maxton, who is a promoter who's opening his own blues club, and he wants Monroe to open the club, and he's willing to pay him to not just open the club, but to write new material. Well, Monroe's like, well, here's a sap that's going to give me some money. Sure, I'll do it. But what he finds out is the writing muscle is a little bit atrophied, and he has a very difficult time coming up with new material. And Monroe steps in and tries to help him get his life in order and stuff. And we kind of go through the main story is of Monroe trying to overcome obscurity, frustration, lack of writing for decades, and to get this new material. The fun thing about this story, though, is that there's a sub story, a second storyline that happens completely in the background. And that's all I'm going to say about it, because what I hope is that as people read this story, they'll get to the last page, they'll see what happens on that last page, and they'll go, I need to go back and see how that developed through the story, because it's almost unrecognized with any dialogue in the book. It's completely done visually, and I'm really excited about that little element of the story. So that's kind of the synopsis of the book. It's based on my experiences as a musician and also my experiences as a teacher. And what I mean by that is I've been fortunate enough to work with a lot of students over the years. As a high school teacher, I was teaching students at that transformational period where they go from being teenagers to adults. And also I would teach those students for multiple years. Some students, I would be their teacher for 7 years in a row. And I've been very lucky in that a handful of those students have told me later on the influence or the impact that I had on the positive impact I had on their lives. And I didn't even recognize that that was going on at the time. And that's something really special. And so this book is my opportunity to tell that story through the lens of Monroe.
Very cool. As you were talking, I was looking at some of your spoiler-free pages that you have on the Kickstarter. I'm dying to read this now.
Awesome.
You are hitting all my buttons. Not only the music thing, which anyone that listens to my shows know I talk about music and my love of music. The artwork. This has that indie style that I've always been crazy about. I mentioned Arcrum at the top. It's not Arcrum, but it's in that era, fanographic stuff. It's really fantastic. This is intriguing me. You're writing, I know from Peerless. I mean, I love it.
Thank you.
So this is just a really, really exciting project. Now, this book, it's a single book. It's 28 pages, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay. And it's already, I'm reading your thing here. It's already been sent out. So the risk is none. It's really just to help pay for it and support you.
Exactly. I fronted all the money to pay Jake Kelly, who's the artist on this book. And I want to tell you a little bit about our relationship too. But Jake is a phenomenal artist. And when I came to him with this project, I wanted him to know that this is not something that I'm hoping to do. I want this book to happen. And so I fronted all the money to pay him. He's produced all the pages. Rob Jones, who did the lettering on Peerless, is back to do the lettering on this book. And it's amazing because the book has songs throughout. So what he's doing with the lettering is trying to show how the songs sound. And it's really interesting what he's doing. It's super cool. So yeah, it's very exciting. And Jake and I, here's the fun thing about Jake and I. First of all, Jake has been an artist in the Cleveland area for a very long time and very well known. If any of your listeners have ever been to a Melt restaurant in Cleveland, great grilled cheese sandwiches. He does the murals. He does the murals there. He has done concert posters for the Grog Shop and the Beach and Ballroom, which are two big rock clubs in the Cleveland area. He's really well known for his poster art. And he's a huge music fan. And he and I, going all the way back to middle school, we've known each other for over 30 years.
Wow.
We have always talked about music and comics. And so this was the first time that he and I really had an opportunity to tell a story together. And knowing how much of a music fan he is and how much he has done with concert posters, I think if you look at that second page of artwork on the Kickstarter and you see Monroe, it's kind of close up and he's got a cigarette
and the booze is spilling behind him.
That is so typical of Jake's amazing artwork. It's so stylistic. It's great.
Once again, like I said, it reminds me of that Fantagraphics type stuff from that era. And to me, that's just moving. I mean, I absolutely love that, and that's why I'm looking at this and it's just lighting me up. And I love his use of light and shadow. It's gray toned, but it's not. It's black and white, but it's doing it like film, where there's texture.
You make me so excited, man. That is awesome because when we sat down to talk about the visuals in this book, we distinctly wanted to make a film noir comic book. We wanted it to
At least
look
from what I can tell,
exactly
you
like
did it, and
awesome.
you totally did it. Oh, I was just going to say this. I see out here one of the movies that inspired was The Third Man.
Yep.
That was what I was just about to cite out, because The Third Man was shot so beautifully
Oh yeah.
and had so much texture to it. It's such a great piece. I was actually going to name that here, and there it is. So you have hit me square in the chest with this one. Very good. And speaking of comics, there you had Harvey Pekar in Cleveland too. So there's another
Absolutely.
Cleveland great that I'm sure inspired Jeff a little bit. So plus you got another shot here of him with his hand on his head. Beautiful. I mean, there's so much raw emotion in this. It's just fantastic. Now we're going to shift. I want to talk about rewards. You want to highlight a couple of them? Like,
Yeah,
what do they get?
simple. We're keeping it simple with this one. With Peerless, we had patches and prints and alternate covers and all this kind of stuff. But this book is, this book feels old. This book feels quiet and intimate, and I want the campaign to have the same kind of feel. I want the emphasis to be on the book. So there's the $5 level, you get the digital version. $10 level, you get the print version of the book. And then Jake and I have also, of course, done other books, and we want to make those available to folks as well. So you can also pick up a copy of Peerless. Jake's working on a series right now called Death, Destruction, Vice, and Sleaze, and it's like a master's paper on crime in Cleveland. He does this insane research on all these crimes and things that happen in Cleveland, and then he tells these incredibly detailed, well thought out recreations of these stories. And he's done with 4 issues. He's released 3 issues, and so those are available as well. And then Jake did all of the interior artwork by hand, and we are going to make some of those hand printed or created pages available to folks who want to contribute at the $190 level. And
Wow.
I promise you, when you see these pages, when you see this book, I mean, you can see the examples on there, but when you see them in person, I've already claimed a couple because they're gorgeous.
They're gorgeous. Yeah.
I can't wait to get them up on my wall. So,
wow. Yeah, these are great rewards. I'm just looking at it right now. I don't know Jake's series, to be transparent, but I know Peerless. But I am all about this. I'm looking at that $55 level because you get all 3 of those, plus you get Peerless, plus you get the new book.
Shady
So
Lane Blues,
that right there, I think that's the winner. If you're a fan of this kind of stuff, that's the winner. Now I have a question.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you have it thought out or if you can expose it, but do you have any stretch goals?
So we have some stretch goals, and I'm very curious to see how the campaign goes, because here's the big reveal. Exclusive to your show right now.
Wow, I wish we had a trombone sound effect for. Okay, go ahead.
I'll go get it. All right. So when there are 3 blues songs that appear in this book. There's a great blues musician in Cleveland by the name of Austin Walking King, and I had the pleasure of playing on Austin's album a few years back, which is really great. Austin and I got together 2 weeks ago and started writing actual versions of these songs.
Oh man.
And the plan is to release a vinyl 45 with all 3 songs. And so the stretch goal is this: once we get to a certain point, I'm going to make this announcement that the rest of the money that's raised is going to go directly to the production of that record, with the songs played solo by Austin Walking Cane and released on an actual vinyl 45 with original cover art by Jake Kelly.
What a great reward. That is fantastic.
And the songs too are, when we talked about them, not only do they appear in the book, but I talked about how this song, like one of the songs, happens when he's at the lowest point in the book. And so when we were talking about it, I said, please understand that you're not just writing a song using these lyrics, but I want people to listen to that song and look at the book and make that
Yeah,
oral
know that
and visual
he's how far
connection.
down he is, not just you're talking about it. Yeah, yeah, you want that emotional thing.
Exactly.
Oh, you're killing me. I love this. All right, so to find this Kickstarter, you need to go to Kickstarter and then look up Shady Lane Blues. I will put links in the show notes as always, and any of our social media should have a link right to it.
Mhm.
You can also look up Kris Morron, Morron, KrisMorron, and I'm sure it'll pop up when they put your name in. So those are a couple of ways to do this. Look under comic books in Cleveland, Ohio. That's another way you can look, but go to Shady Lane Blues and you'll find it. Another thing you can do as somebody who's looking at supporting this is you can also follow, put a reminder on it so you don't miss out, because I know I'm notorious for that. I look at it, I get excited. I'm like, oh yeah, I want to do this. And then it disappears or you run out. This is one you don't want to run out on. So put a remind me on it. Another thing I'm going to recommend and really ask you to do, Kris, you don't have to say these words. I'm saying them for you. Share this Kickstarter with your friends, especially if they are music fans, if they like, film noir, if they're blues fans. They're going to eat this up. I can think of half a dozen people right now, a half a dozen. Probably got 400 when I start really thinking about it. But I can think of half a dozen right now that I'm going to send this to, and I know they're going to like immediately like, boom, take my money. This is going to go everywhere. This is really fantastic, Kris. So kudos to you. Where can people find you on social media? Because they want to follow you too, because you're fantastic.
I would ask everybody to go to my website. It's SkinnyKmusic.com. That's SkinnyK music.com. Once you're on SkinnyKmusic.com, at the top there, you'll see links to my YouTube page. You'll see links to my Instagram, Facebook page. It's all through my website. And then also I'd ask that you check out my YouTube page. I just started a weekly series called Score Sessions, in which I'm writing original music as if I were writing music for films, and it's been really fun. So you can follow me on all those different platforms, but the easiest place, the one-stop shop for all those links is my website, SkinnyKmusic.com.
Great. And I want to say one more thing. I am going to have Kris on I guess it's the sister show to this, Alley Chats, where I get into a little more depth about the comic book end of things. Kris is going to be on there coming up very soon. And I'm just going to lay this out there because Kris and I were talking beforehand for probably 45 minutes about everything else but the project. There's another show that will be launching that stay tuned. But Kris is going to be a guest on it. We're going to go into an in-depth conversation that is not going to be constrained. I'm just telling you now, watch for that on my stuff. Look at SMG Pods, go to our website, get our newsletter. It will be announced. Or you can go to me privately at rsouthgate on Twitter. Southgate. It's anything Southgate. I'm going to pop up. There's like, there's a woman who's a poet named Southgate, and then there's my family. Right. There we are. And there's a couple of malls. So, Kris, I am way about this. I want people to really back this. I see by the time this airs, we'll be about a week into it. At the beginning of the show, there would have been an update as to where we are, so but as of right now, you launched while you were in the waiting room, and you've already got one backer.
Nice.
Yeah.
Score.
Yeah. So there we go. 23 days to go. One in.
Woo!
So there you go. Kris, thank you so much for being on, and congratulations. Good luck with this awesome project. And I know you're going to have more Kickstarters in the future. I want to have you on every time you have one.
Rob, I can't thank you enough for your support of Peerless and then your support of this book. And most important, it is just a pleasure to talk to you, and I look forward to those future podcasts. It's going to be great.
So do I. I love talking to you. Thanks, Kris.
Thank you, Rob.